Listening to the SaasHoles. This is Simon Severino, the CEO of Strategy Sprints. Let's do this.
Give me one more. You're listening to the SaasHoles.
You are listening to the SaasHoles.
See that? You put some ass in the sass. We like that. Welcome to SaasHoles, a show dedicated to issues within the software as a service industry. We are revenue ops with an edge. Jamie, Jason, KG, and myself, Pete, have a combined 100 years of making interesting decisions. Please subscribe to our weekly newsletter. Hey, today we're joined with a very special guest, Simon Severino. Simon is the CEO of Strategy Sprints, Europe's leading remote growth advisory. His global team of certified strategy sprint coaches does only one thing: double the revenue of businesses in 90 days. For us, that would be zero. Simon teaches growth strategy in select business schools and hosts the Strategy Sprints podcast. His company mission is to get business owners to have long, uninterrupted vacations again because the business runs smoothly without them. But before we get to Simon, we got to pay the bills. This episode is brought to you by NeuroNoodle. Hey, parents of athletes, get a doodle of your noodle, which is a brain map before the season starts, so you have a baseline to compare it to. You get a physical every year, right? Well, get a brain checkup before the season starts. Schedule an appointment now at neuronoodle.com. A lot of football is already being played right now. It only takes 20 minutes to get the data you need to ensure the quality of your athlete's future life. Okay, best part of the show, KG.
What, Pete?
KG.
Oh, for God's sakes, lay it on me.
I only know 25 letters of the alphabet, and I don't know why. Leave us some comments on our blog at SaasHoles.net. KG, you got any shout-outs?
I have a couple of shout-outs. Of course, you know me. I've got the nice guy happy birthday shout-outs. I want to give a shout-out to my boy, Ben Edelstein. We worked together long ago when he graduated from UC Santa Barbara as a baseball player, and he's turned out to be an exceptional salesperson. And then also happy birthday to Matt Hines, a fellow sales consultant up in the Northwest. Matt Hines is a good guy. He's also bald like me, so I always like to give props to the bald guys. And then a huge shout out to Ryan Iyengar, who I worked with at ZipRecruiter. He was VP in marketing and went over to a startup called Helium 10 and accelerated from chief revenue officer and recently got promoted to president. That's a big deal, Pete. You and I never got promoted to president. We were like vice presidents, which isn't nearly as good as just straight president.
We got a lot of vices.
We do have a lot of vices.
All right, Mark Blozis, 8 years at Malaker Cohen, Heinz Marketing Incorporated. Say that 3 times fast. Hey, Mark, way to work yourself up from middle management. Hey, Matt Witt starts a new position as a consulting analyst at Fiducient Advisors. Way to go, Matt. University of Iowa kid, I think. Or is he a U of I kid? I don't know. Congratulate. Let's see. Leslie Cervantes starting a new position as Director, Analytics Operations at Excel Sports Management. Hey, Leslie, I like to get in there with NeuroNoodle. Give me a call. Let's see. Jason's not on the show, so that means nobody died. That's good.
Thank God for that. Except for my fantasy football team. Can I get a NeuroNoodle of my fantasy football team? I mean, I think it's gotten hit in the head big time already this season.
Well, in order to get a brain map, you have to have some energy coming off of your dome there, KG. So I think you're a little light today.
All right.
Hey, Simon, what's up with your business? Give us a 30-second primer about your career and how you got to where you are today.
So, Simon Severino, and I'm living in Vienna, Austria here. And when my boys came to being, I didn't want to fly anymore. So my thing was, how do I transpone 18 years of strategy advisory into something that works remotely, wherever it is, without anybody flying, but helpful in navigating funky times for entrepreneurs? And that's what we built. That's the Strategy Sprints method. It's helping right now entrepreneurs all over the world run their businesses smoother, making sense of these times and adapting to what's going on. And it's a pleasure to serve this community. It's now 114 countries that we are having impact in. And I'm doing this from my home. I'm playing with my boys every day, a couple hours.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Who's winning? What are you playing? Oh, we'll get to that later.
Yeah, you got it. From wrestling to tennis to soccer to everything that cannot run away will become a toy.
So the real football, huh?
Whatever we find, we sing, we dance. What the biggest boy is 6 and the smallest is 3, so you can imagine there is nothing we do not come up with.
Outstanding. KG, what do you got for Simon?
Well, first of all, kudos to you for making that decision. I can say personally, now I consider myself to be a full-time stay-at-home dad, fully retired and part-time consulting. And I do that in that order, of course, Simon, and you get the value of that. And I think COVID is, you're not unique in that a lot of people are making those kinds of decisions and saying, gosh, a 2-hour commute or 3-day-a-week travel schedule is not conducive to a family. And, my son's 17, Simon, and he drives, he's learning to drive. I'm driving with my son like an hour and a night for like 3 days a week. And it's like just him and me, just together. We're shooting the shit and I'm teaching him something and, trying not to crash and stuff. And it's like, those are invaluable times. You can't get those back. So kudos to you for making that decision. I'm always impressed with people that do TED Talks. And I saw that you did a TEDx talk, recently. And you talked about achieving your wildest dreams. This is, Pete, this is in post where you, edit in your Napoleon Dynamite stuff. Tell us more about achieving our wildest dreams, Simon. This is fascinating.
Yeah, so when the TEDx team asked me to contribute, I was thinking, what do I want to tell a broader set of the population? And the main thing that I wanted to convey is, whoever you are, wherever you are, you're perfect. And there is nothing you need to improve, and there is nothing you need to do. It's even more on the other side. Keep being strange. Keep that awkward moment in a social situation where people look at you and go, what's going on with you? That's your superpower. It's right there. And you have it already. That's your key differentiator. So I was trying to take something from my experience, which is strategic differentiation and how to niche down, and tell it to a broader set of people, because TEDx goes to everybody. So I was like, hey, you are wonderful. There is nothing you need to do. And keep being strange, because that will be your superpower. It's a latent superpower. It will become later an explicit superpower. So just keep going. That's what I wanted to convey.
So, Simon, you're married, right?
I am 10 years now.
Okay. Because does your wife think you're perfect? Because my wife doesn't think I'm perfect. I think I have to get her to watch. I got to get her to watch your TED Talks. That's that'd be a quite show.
It's quite a journey in a long relationship to keep that mindset up. But I would say that's exactly the practice, right? To find the wonderful thing in everybody we meet. And it's easier when we meet them for the first time, obviously. And when we get into the thick of it, the work is to get back to that state again.
And how does that, and how is the, that our uniqueness help us accomplish our wildest dreams?
So first, it's having the dream. For the entrepreneur is, why am I doing this? So why did I start my business in the first place? Because many entrepreneurs start with, hey, I want freedom from commute, freedom from having a boss, freedom from having that particular boss. I think I can be a better boss, and then I have freedom. So they start it, they do it, and then they see, wow, I have less freedom. And my friends say I'm working more. And there is a certain mindset that comes with it, and you get stuck usually in the first years in hustling, and you do more and more and more. And then there is this mental picture that says, I need to serve the business so it can grow. And there is also another mindset, which is also true, is you started something that should serve your lifestyle actually, and not the other way around. And you don't have to do more and more and more. You can stop, you can pause with a good strategic coach. You can find the 3 levers, what's working well, what's differentiated, and you can do less actually and find smarter ways, more creative ways, maybe pioneering ways to do something different that is super helpful. And then you don't need to work more and more and more. And the same thing, and that ties back to being married 10 years. I asked my wife last year, we went out for a boat trip for our 9 years anniversary. And I literally asked her, can you remember why we married? And she said, yes, I married you because you were both freedom and home. I have literally written this down into every piece of, vision paper, project list, whatever. I have it written down, and every day I try to be a husband that is a little bit like freedom and home. And so the first part is, to ask, to have this conversation around what's our dream, what's our shared dream. When you're an owner, it's a team that has a dream. What's our dream together? And what do we want to accomplish? And then the second question is, how can we make this work for us, for the client, for the community, and we are part of that community. So it's also working for us. And what's the smartest way? One question that we ask is, what's on your project list and how can you cut it in half? Then we let them cut in half. And then we say, now cut it in half again. And that's the hardest task in the first month of the sprint, but it's a very important task because then you boil down to the gist, and now you help people align around a few things that really matter, a few numbers, a few goals, a few projects. Now you have more breathing room. Now you have freedom to create something, because if you just have to deliver one thing or solve one big problem, we narrow it down to, are we going to solve a bottleneck in operations, in sales, or in marketing this week? And then they have to pick and choose. They have to say, okay, this week we solve the lead gen problem. All right, then let's do everything and everybody does that. We will measure it on Thursday. On Friday, we either have solved the problem or we have to do a second round, which means another week. One sprint is 1 week in our method. And as soon as we solve that bottleneck, then we analyze, okay, what's the next bottleneck? Well, now it's marketing. We solved it, but now we have to tell more about it. All right, 1 week marketing focus. And I can tell you more about it. It's a 3 months program. And in the first month, it's about simplifying. In the second month, it's about finding what works and connecting the parts that work, and literally operations, marketing, and sales. That's how simple we make it, and connecting what works. And then the third month is the marketing push, how to scale it up.
Go ahead, Pete.
Simon, you're in Austria, and I'm sure you deal with a lot of software companies. When you're working in Europe and then we're working in the States, two different cultures, could you address some of the different issues in the States versus Europe that you help, problems that you uncover and solve?
Most of our clients are in the California area. SaaS clients are typically in Los Angeles and San Francisco, some of them in Miami. That's emerging in the last years. And in Europe, it's especially London and a tiny part of Switzerland called Zug. You might not even know it, but it's one of the hotspots for blockchain startups, SaaS startup, especially deep tech, fintech space. Switzerland is hot right now. So in the last years, we would usually work with San Francisco, Oakland, Los Angeles-based SaaS startups. And yes, there is a different mentality. One is how much time are you taking off? That's a huge mentality. Like in Europe, the people go, oh yeah, tell me, I'm off in August. We see each other in September. And in San Francisco is, I'm having kidney surgery. You can reach me the next 3 hours on my mobile phone. And so that's one difference. The other difference is the seed round and the A round are just different volumes, very different volumes. And so it's really much easier to raise rounds right now in the US than in Europe. And but Europe is coming up also. There are, especially in the deep tech fintech space where I am working most. I am in the SVBS, Silicon Valley Blockchain Society. So I'm trying to help deal flow in the deep tech space coming together. And for me, that's mainly blockchain that excites me, because it has this potential to change supply chains, to change the fintech space, to disrupt banking. And also it's, of course, it's creating appreciating assets. It's so interesting for treasury of SaaS companies that start thinking about, appreciating assets and how to manage the P&L and treasury. So there are so many topics popping up there that I am excited about and that we are helping our clients navigate through and tackle and use, because there are huge opportunities. And it's especially San Francisco and Zug that are really interesting right now.
Last one from me for a while. If you make a bad hire, how hard is it to remove the person in Switzerland versus California?
Well, that depends on the contract. And I'm a fast firing person. So I hire fast and I fire fast. And that's why I have contracts that enable that. And none of my people is actually in my country, because we are a global team. We are born remote. We are in every country. We have different country legislation, but really the contract is on you as an entrepreneur. There are many ways right now to source work, and we have to take care of two things as an entrepreneur, of the down volatility and up volatility. So you have to take care. What if you have a month where sales is down and you still have to pay all these wages? What if you have a month where 4 people have COVID and you have to pay all these wages? How much can you really afford? And so it's a serious conversation going on in the exec team, how to find a smart solution for that. And I would say a smart solution is one that in a very bad sales month has still a healthy and resilient team setting for everybody. And in a very good sales month has no upper limits. So it's scalable up, but you can afford also in a very bad quarter. And as you see, there is much more volatility than we all would like, and nobody knows about what's coming.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, let's talk about what's coming up in the next 90 days. Doubling your revenue. I love the claim. Talk about big, hairy, audacious goal and a claim. Our audience is, new sales managers, small business owners, people that want to get better, and they're all running their own kind of business, whether it's within a company or their own company. And I'd love to explore that further, with you. I mean, that's the holy grail. Double your revenue in 90 days. I mean, look, let me just poke you for a second. That sounds like that's just for small businesses. If you're doing like, $100,000 a month, right? Like it's for small businesses, right? This isn't for big businesses, right?
We work mainly with small businesses, Series A SaaS, pre-Series A SaaS, and small service businesses, consultancies, agencies. That's correct. And to double the revenue there is pretty easy. And sometimes we quadruple it. Maybe I have to change even my guarantee, because right now we're guaranteeing doubling, but we have quadrupled in North Carolina last month with somebody who builds houses. And they have quadrupled. And I was like, guys, how are you going to ship 4 times more houses. And they went like, well, we have modularized with our sprint coach. We can do that. So let me tell you, it's 3 levers. And I learned this originally from Jay Abraham, who has been around a long time and has done amazing foundational work for everybody. The work of Jay Abraham is really worth reading. And so we stand on the shoulders of giants. Jay Abraham, Verne Harnish, Gino Wickman have done amazing work. And we have started our thing, and all these things were already in place. I had 18 years of time to prove these things in practice if they really work. Mm-hmm. And the things that work, we collected into the Sprint University, which is now a set of tools of 274 tools. But the levers are only 3 things. So if you want to increase your revenue, and you are listening right now, take notes, because I'm going to tell you the 3 things that you do in the next 90 days. And you can do them alone. You don't need us. So if you want to increase revenue by 99%, then you have to get 3 things up by 25%. One is price, one is frequency, and one is the conversion rate. Let's start with the price. Mm-hmm. You probably have not found out what your max price is, because they're not teaching it anywhere. So let me give you, if you're a SaaS company, let me give you here the process, how you find your max price. You can increase your price by 5% for every new user until you get 40%, 45% rejection. That's where you have your sweet spot. You have found your max price for now. That's accurate enough for most listeners. Go and try it for yourself. You will find that you can raise it considerably.
Say it again for me, Simon. 5% for every user. Say that again for us, please.
Increase your price by 5% for every new user, and stop when you get 40%, 45% rejection.
Hey, and I'm sorry, I joined late. I was on another meeting, but I think one thing also is don't hit up, what about existing customers, right? Because I feel like a lot of clients go back to the existing customers and say, hey, we priced you wrong. I'm now going to go up by 40% overnight. You've got to walk. I think you've got to walk up the price by the new customers and then try to bridge the gap later on with the existing, correct?
Thank you for this question. So the exploration, the price exploration you do with the new users. And when you have found the price, now there are 8 things that you have to make. Then you come back and raise the price for everybody. And these 8 steps, we have them on our website. You can download them, strategysprints.com. You can download them. Basically, 8 steps are making sure you have testimonials, social proof, an offer that has a 10x value. So when we say we can increase your sales by 150,000, then we will charge 15,000, because that's an appropriate way. If you bring 10 times value, then it's fine to charge that. And so there are 8 things, a checklist of 8 things to do. And when you have done that, you can go and raise the price also for everybody else, because now you have found your sweet spot and you have done your 8 homework exercises, which make a solid offer. You need a solid offer, obviously, and social proof, and you need a certain NPS, Net Promoter Score, validating that you are really delivering a good service. Then you can go and up the price. That's the pricing part, 25%.
So that's one, raise price. Number 1, raise price.
Second one is frequency. Frequency is quite exciting, because especially now we are talking B2B SaaS and B2B services, because for everybody else, it's easy to increase frequency. You just change a little bit the buttons, put in more PPC, and you have more frequency. But for the B2B sales, the complex sales where you need 8 to 14 touch points, this is the hard school, because you have sometimes 8 months sales time from awareness to closing. 13 months, 18 months. I had 18 months 3 years ago. It was crazy. And so how can you do that? How can you intensify that into 2 weeks, 3 weeks? And we have found something that works really, really well. Basically, we map out the 18 months. We write down what's happening in 18 months, and we find the solution. And the solution is mainly based on emails. that you can compress into 8 to 14 contact points that happen in 3 weeks. So for example, if you go right now onto our website and download anything, and it will ask you for your email address, in the next 14 days, you will get a daily email. The first email will send you to a valuable piece of information about your industry that is on LinkedIn. So you will see it, you will comment, we are connected on LinkedIn. Day 2, valuable piece of information, and it's on YouTube. We are connected on YouTube. And so this is how we do the next 14 days. Come the next day 10, you say, oh, I'm tired of Simon. Come on, let me take my iPad and watch something on YouTube. Guess what? Who's coming? So we'll have 14 contact points in the next 8 days, probably. And if you don't like it, you unsubscribe and it's fine. But if you like it, we have created now exactly what we wanted, 14 valuable contact points in 8 days instead of 18 months. And that's what you want to create. Valuable experiences up to 14 times before you even introduce the offer and start going into the sales conversation, you have prepared the ground. Now you can raise frequency. And so that's the first part, intensifying the, if you want, the experiences. And then, of course, upselling and cross-selling. Now, some people have that already, but many listeners, if you ask them, what is your system for weekly upsell, weekly cross-sell, they might not have a system. So that's a low-hanging fruit. If you don't have a systematic way of doing it, build it in. And that's where we map it out and say, hey, look, after this, so they come for the solution. What if they hang around for the community? What if they hang around for this and for that? So how can you retain easier? Because that, and you have experienced salespeople listening here, they know that it's the cheaper and it's the easier sell is the upsell.
But number 3 was increased. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And number 3 is increased conversions, you said. Conversions.
This is the good old how to close the deal.
Yeah.
So there are 2 points that we work on. One is the website and how you convert from there. And the second one is the sales call, the Zoom call. We record, so we ask our clients to send us their Zoom recordings. Yeah. Most people right now are selling via Zoom. So we ask them for the Zoom recording, and we have a checklist. I can show you the checklist. We go through, hey, how many of these kind of questions did you ask? Oh, look, you jumped to the price too early. Go back. Did you really explore the gap? How long did you stay in the gap before you went to solution? Look at this. And so as you can imagine, this is super helpful because this is so practical and it's just how to close the deal. There are a couple books that we recommend reading because they are really, really helpful. But then the most practical thing is we get their recording, and in the live session, which is weekly 1 hour, we tell them, look, at the beginning, you asked just 2 questions and then you went into your solution. Get that up to 7 questions. Now go back, practice a second time, and send us the next recording. And so you have different kind of typical sales mistake that we recognize quickly, like, you know, the product nerds who talk too much about features and not so much about benefits, the excited solution seller who doesn't even ask about the problem, the empathic problem understand people and who wants to be liked and listens for the full hour without selling anything. And so you have the typical situations and typical patterns that you can identify pretty quickly and help overcome with just technique.
KG, keep us on track. We're on 4 or 5 is next, but I want to touch on what Simon said. When you play football, whether it's the real football in Europe or the football in the States, you watch game tape, right? So you have a sales call, depending on the sale, 20 to 40 minutes. And I love that you go to the Zoom call and you watch the tape of it. Do you ever go to the transcript so you can see the actual structure of the call? versus the tone of the call. I always found that helpful, that if somebody could read what they're saying, something clicks upstairs, it says, oh, wow, I could delete all this other text, cut and paste. This is what I should have said.
Oh, yes. The sales script is an important part of the sprint. The first year, we would just write the script together because usually nobody has a script. And so of our clients, at least, most small businesses don't have a script for sales. So we would write one with them and then they would use it. And then we would get these recordings and they were so stiff, so rigid, like they were reading.
Yep.
So we introduced a second element. Okay, in week 2, we create the script with you, but in week 3, you start doing role plays, ABC role plays. One is the client, one is the salesperson, and one is the observer. And so they have to do role plays in between, just, to get relaxed, because it is important to learn the script, and it's as important to forget the script. Because otherwise it's rigid. And if you hear somebody who's rigid, you know what I do? If I am in a country and I'm just getting out of the airport and the cab driver starts asking these questions and I know this is a script, well, then I start joking around. I answered in a way that I know exactly what's the next question, and I start joking with them. So it's not good to feel like you are talking to a script. And scripts are only good if you practice, and then let them go, forget them.
Yep.
You know the checklist. Oh, I shouldn't talk price before I have covered that. That's basically what the map you should have in your mind. But it shouldn't feel like anybody is going through a script. Otherwise, that's just boring. It's not natural.
Pete and I are not nodding because we're dyed-in-the-wool sales guys, and we've used scripts our entire life. But Simon, I don't know if you knew, scripts are a bad word. You can't use scripts anymore. So I think you call it playbooks or something. But I'm a firm believer in scripts. And a friend of mine, the great Mike Brooks, Mr. Inside Sales, he used to say, look, when you go watch a movie, every single person on that screen is using a script, but they don't sound like they're using a script because they have practiced using the script. And there's like three levels to this. One is reading the script. You still sound mechanical. 2 is memorizing the script. You sound a little bit better, but you're still mechanical. But then number 3 is, like you said, is throw it away. You've now embodied the script, and the script actually can have components to it where now you can have a conversation and you can insert pieces of the script, as necessary in a conversation. I love in 2021, somebody is still advocating for scripts because it is critical. How do you know what good looks like if you don't, lay it out for those customers? Amen to that. Jamie, sorry, I interrupt you, Jamie.
Well, I was going to say, one of the things Pete always professes is when you're starting out, skill times activity equals success. And I think scripts come into play there, because when you have no skill, you got to rely on the activity and the script until you master the script, and then your skill is improved. You can throw the script out. Hopefully your activity stays the same, because then your success goes through the roof. So I was sort of tooting Pete's horn there on his point.
You can toot my other horn, but
I don't know what that means.
I'll
leave that there.
We'll edit that out in post. No, use a script, if you rehearse it, okay, you should have some confidence, because if you say the same thing over and over and over, you should get the same objection over and over and over, or a different one, and know how to respond to it. So you should at least have confidence. Okay. Yeah. If you're reading off a piece of paper, forget it. It's like, all right, I'm talking to the Philippines here. Click out, I'm checked out. So like you said, if you're watching the screen, you're watching a movie, they have a script, they just rehearse it a gazillion times. So if a rep's out there and it's not rehearsing and they're just reading what the boss says, good luck on your next job.
Mm-hmm.
There is value in creating the script, because this is when you think of all your benefits. This is where, for some people, it's the first time they divide benefits from features. For some people, it's the first time they think about the pain points of their customer in a structured way, longer than half an hour. So that's the value of creating it. And then the beautiful thing about sales is the learning curve is so steep. You do 30 sales calls, you have learned it, and you forget about that piece of paper. And you might come back later, maybe, I don't know, 1 year later, you have 2 bad sales months, you get again with the sales coach, they ask you for the script, you go, oh, where was it? And then you revisit it. That's a good exercise to do again. So you might do it again and again. And of course, all the time, your customer needs change. You have to revisit the script. And what's happening right now? The life of our customers is changing week by week. So that's when I go back to my sales script and my team go back to the sales script and say, hey, is this still relevant? Are we still talking to the people in a way that is appropriate, or have we disconnected? And so we review them.
That's awesome. So the 3 keys to doubling revenue there was 3 keys to doubling revenue in 90 days. 1 was increasing price, 2 was increasing frequency, and 3 was increasing conversion. And obviously we dove deep in here in how to increase your, conversion rates. And I think you're talking about good old coaching in increasing conversion rates, because you can say stuff, but if it doesn't work, you better figure it out and rework it into a good script and a playbook. Love it. That there was just 3, correct?
3, just 3. You get them only up by 25% each. You are now at plus 99% revenue. And this is mostly enough cash flow injection to now start hiring more, outsourcing and delegating better. And now you are working on the business and not anymore in the business. This changes a lot for the people. Now you have time to work on the business. Now comes the fun part. Joint ventures, collaborations, affiliate marketing, all the fun stuff, being on podcasts, talking about your mission, being on TEDx and telling people stuff. This is the cool part now of running a business. But first, of course, you need that cash flow injection and that solid fundamentals. And that's what we were talking about. And I like, as a consultant, I like not to hang out for years with my clients. I come in, we do these 3 things, they're happy, we are happy, we move on.
I would imagine you have to be pretty particular on who you choose too, because some of the startup customers might not have a product market fit, meaning that they're answering a question that no one's asking. So you're probably going through a vetting process yourself, because otherwise you're just wasting time saying, I'm guaranteed you're going to grow your revenue by 2. And yet the question they're trying to solve is not a question that needs to be answered.
That's very, very good point. So when does the sprint work and for whom does it not work? This sprint works only for B2B, high-ticket SaaS and service-based businesses, so consultancies, agencies, wealth advisors, legal advisors. It does not work for all of this when they are below 35K per month in revenue. That is an arbitrary number that I have come up with in the last 18 years to define exactly what you just said, James. When do we see market fit? Because you can have product fit and product validation at 5K if people say, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's cool. And so you're doing 5K per month. The sprint is not the right thing for you. When you hit 35K per month, now you have traction. Now people are, and if it's MRR or just monthly revenue, it's now people are taking stuff from your hands. This is what we call market fit. And this is where the sprint applies. We have also a kicker, a group coaching of 12 weeks that prepares you for the sprint. If you are below 35K, then, James, you are right. You have to do different things. We do positioning, we do messaging, and we do packaging. And we train the basics of sales because usually they don't have a CRM. So we help them choose the right CRM, set up the right CRM. And we train them that it's about how to start conversations and how to follow up conversations and how to close conversations. This is what you need to do before you hit 35K per month. It's a contact sports. You need a ton of conversations and you need to close them.
Interesting. So 35,000 is just an arbitrary number that you came up with, but it seems to hold true, I guess, right? In your your validation of your hypothesis seems to be 35. There seems to be enough substantiated behind that.
Yeah. And so when people come to us and they're below 35K, we have the Tuesday sessions for them, 12 weeks to get them to 35K. And that's the kicker. And after it, they can sprint. And in the sprint, we can double the revenue in 90 days. So if they are at 35, we can go to 70. If they are at 50, we can go to 100. That is what works really well in a repeatable way for us.
I love that. You mentioned something in your last answer about working on the business versus working in the business, and it reminds me of a job I took many years ago, and I observed a head of our customer service department, and this guy had everything, Simon. Everything ran through him. Every approval, everything ran through this guy, and he was very proud of the fact that he was working till 11 o'clock at night. And I said to him, listen, we're not going to be able to scale if everything goes through you. And let's just talk personally. Personally, you'll never be able to take a vacation if everything continues to go through you. And he goes, Kevin, the secret here is I have job security. And I said, no, you don't. No, you don't. Because the moment something breaks because you were supposed to do it, or you fell asleep and you were supposed to do something, then somebody's wondering what you're doing with your, with your business. And so I read something about that you've published about, working on the business and not, in the business. Your mission is to help CEOs run businesses smoothly without them, without the CEO. Isn't that a little bit like, wait, the CEO is going to create a business where they don't need the CEO? Come on. What's the, I'm poking you a little bit, but come on, the CEO has to be involved in everything, right?
Well, I am, from my personality, I am similar to him. I want to be involved in everything. I think I can do it quicker. I think I care more, etc., etc., etc. And I am okay with working weekends and nights, etc. So from the personality type, I understand him a lot. But I have seen so many businesses where the founder becomes the bottleneck. And so the CEO usually is the main blockage for growth of the company, because it's the founder who is also the CEO of 5 to 50 people. And now you need to shift from star to galaxy. The CEO is really the one role that you need to multiply. How can you multiply leadership? That is the main question. And you can multiply by creating the governance, the protocol, the rules of the game, and you need time for that. So when do you create the rules of the game, the values, the cadence, the velocity? Velocity is not just speed, it's speed and direction, because you can have speed in the wrong direction. And this is a big risk when you are working 80 hours, that you are not sharp enough. You start making mistakes. You overlook things. And I can tell you a ton of stories where I had bad hirings, bad decisions, and that pulled me back for 3 months, 4 months worth of progress because of just one hiring mistake. And I did that because I was overworked. I didn't take the time to reflect, to draw a model and to think about the model, because I was too much in the business. So the best decisions I've made were 3 years ago when I said, Simon is out of fulfillment. From now on, you cannot book Simon as a coach anymore. That was the best thing. And for 18 years, I was the one doing the consulting. So for everybody, it was a huge step. And for me, it was emotional. But 10 minutes later, nobody missed me. It was beautiful. The coaches start showing more of how good they are. I was in awe of how good they are, how dedicated they are. The quality was higher than the quality of my coaching. And I started really enjoying these other things, working on form, fit, and function of the sales system, working on form. And this is an engineering problem. Form, fit, and function of the sales system is an engineering problem. It's an art form. It takes time. I am thinking 3-4 hours per day about how to improve form, fit, and function of the sales system, form, fit, and function of the marketing system. I listen to podcasts. I book experts. I read Jay Abraham and Gino Wickman and whoever I can get. I read, I study, and I reverse engineer. I run experiments that I run myself. I run experiments where I have agencies running them. I get reports and I study the reports. I search for patterns. I search for weak signals that would tell me early what's working, what's not working. And I can go on and on. You see, I'm excited again, even if I'm not in the client work, but it is as exciting to work on the business of your business. That's
so cool. You read the book, The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber by chance?
Beautiful book. Yes. That got me started on this entrepreneurial thing.
There you go. It's I read that book at the right time, Simon, because I was working too much in my business and I realized I needed to be able, the holy grail was turn my email off while I was on vacation. And I was actually only able to pull it off as of a couple of years ago. But that was it. The business was running without me, and I didn't need to be checking in on email all the time. There you go.
I am coming from a 4 weeks uninterrupted vacation at our beach house, and our company is just 3.5 years old. So if I can do it, everybody can do it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Pete, what do you say?
What I say is some companies, we've talked to a lot of consultants on here, and some consultants say, there's only a certain type of company I want to work with where the founder is still day to day. Because once you get into larger corporations and whatnot, some people, they're insecure. Like, why do I have to bring a consultant in? We should already know this. I was wondering, have you seen any of that, Simon? You said your sweet spot is $35,000 a month. I wonder, what kind of new companies do you look to take on board? Are they corporations or smaller businesses?
We work with small businesses. And I sometimes have this topic also, hey, Simon, but I want to work with you because you are the owner and you did it for 18 years. Don't give me some juniors. And I get it. And I'm very open about it. So first, we don't have any juniors. The sprint coaches, they were former heads of Google, former salespeople for Coca-Cola. They scaled Uber Eats, or they did run the advisory arm of Ernst & Young in their country. So we have only CEOs coaching CEOs because I also don't want to have kids coaching me. That's the first part. The second part is I am still involved. So every Monday, there is the coaches meeting and we discuss every client. Every client gets reported the 3 sprint calls, the 3 numbers, and the 3 revenue metrics that we, if it's churn rate in terms of a SaaS, or if it's new revenue or numbers of deals closed. I really get these numbers. I look at the reports, not just at the stories. I want to see the numbers, not the narratives. And every Monday we go through all clients. If at some point, and we can discuss 16, 17 clients per session. If at some point we would have 50 clients per Monday and I cannot anymore, I have a system to scale that. Then because right now I am still the head coach going through all clients, but I have written down the role of the head coach, and I have over 100 recordings of how I do head coach. So I can certify now a head coach. I have a certification model, by the way, because that's how you scale a service business. The only way to scale a service business is to do a certification model or kind of a franchise model or a license model, right? So we have all of this. And so I can certify a head coach, and then I can scale that again, and we can have 50 more clients per week if we need to do that. And but I still can see every single client, and I write them. Hey, Anthony, like right now, Anthony Iannarino just sprinted with us, and I wrote him, hey, Anthony, congrats on your higher open rate on your new emails. So I'm in. It doesn't mean that I spend many, many hours. There is a smart way, a lean way of having quality control and this is exactly what I'm studying. I'm studying the lean methods, the quality control methods, because these are the champions in how to create processes that work, but that are smart. They have loops for quality control that work on the level of system and not on the level of person.
Simon, what's the best way for our listeners to get a hold of you? What's your website?
We hang out at strategysprints.com, and we have some pretty cool things on there. So you can download the tools, the checklists, and the newest thing that I've created is one thing that people were asking all the time, like, okay, Simon, but all these things, I don't know if I should improve now operations or sales or marketing. How can I find out? So I've created a 8 minutes self-assessment. It's called the Gameplan, where you can identify your bottleneck right now. So if you click on Gameplan, you can spend 8 minutes. And after that, you know your bottleneck. So you focus for this week just on that.
Theory of constraints. I love it. I love it. Simon, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks, everybody. I hope I could contribute to some clarification.
Well, you contributed more. You contributed more than I did, so it was great.
That's not very hard. I mean, I joined late and I contributed more.
That's what she said. Thanks for listening to the SaasHoles. On behalf of Jason, Jamie, KG, and myself, Pete, we thank you for listening, and we ask you to give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, please. If they're not listening, we can't help. So subscribe to us on our newsletter. And in the podcast notes, you'll see the links for everything we talked about today. And if you want to buy us a beer on Patreon, please, SaasHoles /Patreon and Patreon/SaasHoles. We thank you for listening. Cue the non-copyrighted music.